Hey guys, it's John Sherwood here from JohnSherwood.com. Today I've got Marcus Thomas on the line. He's going to be talking with us about worship and Christians and how we can worship God through music, through song, even for those of us that really can't carry a tune. Marcus, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Hey, John. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Real quick, I want to introduce you to you guys. This is my little man, Adrian. He's going to
What's
be
up, Adrian?
interview. He's 7 months old. Already loves music. Already loves worship. So I think
Nice.
we get something out of it. But yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you about worship, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much. I wanted to just kind of kick things off here, get to know you a little bit. So, how
Mhm.
did you get involved in worship? How did you get involved in music? I mean, has it been something since your son Adrian's age, or was it something you fell into? What was the sort of the story behind you getting involved in music?
Yeah. I think music has been a constant in my life. Really since probably birth. My mom's side of the family is very musical. We always joke that I don't think there's a guy on her side of the family who doesn't play some instrument. And they all came up through the church. They're all church trained musicians, and many of them have gone on to work professionally and do some really great things. And I always knew how to play. I started self teaching myself when I was young, and then school band, and I played trumpet and learning some stuff through that. And really, when it took off was around teen ministry, 16, 17. Um, the church band pretty much just brought me in Columbia, and I just started playing with those guys and playing music, and they were all a lot older, so I got I got to hang out with some really experienced musicians, and then and really that it just kind of spiraled into just a initially it was just a love of music, and then it was recognizing that God had kind of put it in me to, and I was learning that not only that I was good at doing it, but that hold up, this man got me.
It's attacking Adrian right there.
Yeah, he got the earpiece. He wants to talk too. But no, I mean, I really it changed into learning that, wow, you know what? I think God has given me this for a reason, and I really started to love it, and it grew into a love of just all music, but definitely learning that was my avenue of connecting to God at a really young age. I realized that playing with the band at church, worship, was really a part of who I was. Currently, that's also a part of the way I raise my family. I have a degree in theater, but I'm also a working musician here in Myrtle Beach. There's a bunch of places to play music here, so every weekend I'm out at some place playing local music, playing blues, playing soul music, whatever I can play.
Yeah.
And I also have two bands that I've played with. One's hip hop, and the other one's kind of a soul duo. So yeah, man, it's really just kind of threaded throughout my life in a lot of different areas.
Now, how does music, right, and your love of music? You mentioned that it really kind of was God fed, and you realized even at an early age that it was really from God, and it
Hmm.
helped you to connect with God. Talk about that a little bit more. In what ways does music and worship help you connect with God or learn about God? How does your connection personally with God through music affect the world around you with other people and stuff? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. What I started noticing was, and this is prior to even noticing how worship music did it, was just how moved I could be through music. And it's just as simple as when I was in high school, I played soccer, or I played sports, and I remember just that sense of, wow, this turn on this song, and I need that to get pumped up, and I just started noticing it in so many different areas that music was this emotional connect. And what I really started to notice was it was an emotional connect, for better or for worse.
Mm.
So as a young man, really prior to being a Christian, and I'm listening to all kind of whatnot on the radio,
Mm.
right? Be it and I'm a huge lover of hip hop,
Mhm.
and I think you have to, if you love it, you have to listen to it with a discerning ear. but you're listening to everything. And I would notice, wow, it actually, in not just a negative way, but it impacts my mood,
Right.
whether I want it to or not.
Right.
And then I started noting, I remember the first time I was at summer camp, the first time I ever did a song Devo at they say the Swamp now. It was actually Camp Woodmont way back in the day. But I remember doing a song Devo, and it was the first time I think I ever had um, the feeling of the love of God, and that was big for me because as a young Christian, through my studies, I had a very tough time connecting emotionally to my walk.
Right.
I knew it here. I thought through it. I knew what I wanted to do, but I remember actually telling a brother, I don't know how to generate the emotional love for God. And I
Right.
remember one of the first times I found that were in those devotionals. And so what I realized was, even for those that aren't necessarily very musical, it definitely is this direct path to feeling and to emotion.
Right.
And so I really felt like, you know what, this is important for me. I feel like it's important for everybody, but it definitely was one of the first ways for me to connect in that way with God.
Right. It's funny you mentioned this emotional connection, and it's like I think almost everybody on the planet recognizes that music in all of its various forms, it stirs something in us. It really
Mm,
does arouse emotion and
yeah.
feeling. And I'm even thinking about current events in our context right now with, Prince having just died and Michael Jackson a couple of years
Hmm.
ago. And it's like, these artists are really mourned on a massive scale because their music really stirred people. It really touched people in these very deep and intimate and private ways. And everybody recognizes whether they're a part of the community or not, the role that music has in helping us to really just feel. And so, my question for you would be, what type of advice would you have for one of those people that maybe is not really musically inclined? Maybe they don't play an instrument, they don't know how to read music, they don't sing well. At least from their perspective, they feel like they don't sing well. And they're a person of faith, and maybe they're wanting to connect. They're wanting to be able to emote in their relationship with God more, but they don't really know how to utilize music in order to worship God, to feel and to express emotionally. Because, like you said, there are some folks that have no problem really connecting emotionally with God and others, and then
Hmm.
some of us, we really do have a hard time with that. So, what type of advice or encouragement or tips would you have for people that are really looking to connect with God in that way, but may not really have the musical talent to feel like they can?
Yeah, I think, and I talk to a lot of people who seem to have that problem, and I think what's kind of happened in some way is, there's a feeling of, okay, well, I don't have that gift, and it doesn't sound good when I do it to me, and so I'm not having the same emotional connection as you are, brother, because this is something that's very much made for you. And I think the advice I really have is, I think about it in two ways. First off, I always think about, first, what is God, what is he looking for when he looks down and sees us singing, and I just try to remember that God just loves to hear our voice praising him.
Okay.
Doesn't need to be in perfect harmony to do it.
Right.
And I think so often, because we're thinking about the person next to us or the people around us,
Mm.
but he loves to hear our voice. And the reason I say that is, um I just love to hear Adrian's voice.
Yeah.
Like, I really do. I love to hear them try to sing. The other day, no joke, he learned how to clap,
Nice.
and I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world. There he goes.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
And I love it. I just love to see him doing it, and it doesn't need to be a perfect clap. It
Right.
doesn't need to be in time. I just love to see him trying to emote joy to me.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. One thing that helps getting over that self consciousness is just to think, you know what, God just wants to see me uh, trying to emote joy
Right.
to Him.
Right.
And so I think that's the first thing I always say. And then the other thing is just really encouraging people to find um, what does work for them
Right.
musically. What does work? I think sometimes there's a whole plethora of styles, and every church, and you really, I think sometimes what ends up happening is, okay, I don't necessarily feel like I'm fitting in here musically, or I don't sound good, but you know what? On my own, I can go find that song or that music
Right.
or that place where I can figure out something that I can do. I really do think that if it's as simple as clapping your hands, then you clap your hands, and
Right.
and you understand that God is the one that you're trying to emote the joy to.
Right.
He's
Right.
pleased with that,
Right. You talk about emoting joy, but obviously there's a lot of other emotions that we feel through the course of life, and many of them are not always positive. We can
Mm.
feel sadness, sorrow, tragedy. A good friend of mine's mom just passed away actually a few days ago, and
Oh man.
I'm sure there's a lot of emoting that is happening, and it's not always good. And so, how do you connect with God emotionally in the times of sorrow or tragedy?
Yeah. I think a large part of my personal um, um, getting through trials has music has helped me a lot. Um, I think that it's a place where as a songwriter, I write out all my prayers. I write out. I think about Psalms. I think about the fact that there are times where David was just like, God,
Right.
I'm not feeling good.
Right.
But you know what? That's all there too. And I think we have to be comfortable with saying those things.
Right.
I also think that there are times in life where I I could not get I couldn't put words to the pain I was feeling. It was just there was hurt and there was pain. And there were definitely times where I found that song where somebody else was singing about it, and it really helped me through it. And so
Right.
I think that's really important, and that's why I continue to write songs that aren't just about my joy or my victory, but also about my pain and my struggle, and
Right.
and so that I think in that way, as songwriters, your pain can actually help somebody else in the long run.
That's right. That's great. And you mentioned being a songwriter. What would you say to some of those people out there that are really musically inclined? They are really gifted. They do feel really called and empowered by God for this purpose. What
Mm.
encouragement would you give them to really use their gift for the glory of God and helping others?
Yeah, I think and I've learned this over the years that man, there's almost nothing better than when you're able to use that gift for your ultimate purpose. I was for many years. I've been writing. I've probably been writing music. I'm 33 now. I've been writing since I was about 15, and I've written for a lot of different purposes and myself. The thing that I always say though is when you've been given this gift, and it is a gift, just like the ability to preach, the ability to encourage, the ability to give. You've been given this gift, and I think with our gifts that are from God, we always have to remember that it's like anything else. I want to give God my first fruits. I want to say, look, God, you've given me this, and it's not just for me.
Right.
So I feel a definite calling to, to, if God gives you the songs, use the songs for Him, but also to really understand. And I don't know if everybody's experienced this as songwriters, but when you do get into that place where you're saying, look, I'm going to use this as best I can for God, it's the most fulfilled you're gonna feel as a Christian songwriter.
Hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go record a worship album. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It does mean though that you're saying, look, let me think about how God wants me to use what He's put inside of me. And I just and it's taken me a while to understand that. But the further I've gotten into really doing that, the more fulfilled I have felt. And
Right.
so it's just inspired me to do it more and more and more. So I just want to encourage people that that's where that fulfillment is.
Right.
It's not just about. I mean, we do as songwriters feel very great when you're able to put out that emotion in that way, but there's more fulfillment
Right.
when you're really trying to do it for God.
Right. It's interesting because everybody. The Bible teaches that God has arranged all the parts of the body just the way He wants them, and that He's gifted everyone individually and uniquely, and He's done that for a purpose, for His own glory. And you're right, like anytime any of us are really in that sort of wheelhouse of expressing the gift that God has given us, we find great fulfillment, great satisfaction.
Yes.
Piper always is talking about how God is most glorified when we're most satisfied in Him. And I find myself that I'm most satisfied in Him when I'm expressing what He has given me to Him and to help others and to love others. And so, I really appreciate you bringing that up. So as we kind of like wrap this up here, really appreciate you being on. You mentioned, that not every Christian songwriter has to make a worship album or whatever, but I know that you do have a worship album in the mix here, and so I wanted to give you a chance to give a shout out to that, and let people know what's going on and how they can get connected to it.
Yeah, man, definitely. Thanks, man. I'm currently actually leaving this afternoon to go up and have another recording date in Asheville. I'm recording with a brother up there, Mickey Marion. The name of the album is Crown. And it really just comes from the idea of I'm trying to make something that will glorify God, a crown for God. And so it's going to feature the worship ministry here in the Grand Strand Church.
Okay.
And it's just, the album is split between about 6 or 7 brand new worship songs that we've written here, and then some really old hymns written, older things by and by that we've kind of reworked, but our own kind of folk gospel style that we have.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the name of the album. The album is Crown Music. We are currently recording that right now in Asheville. We're actually raising funds on it on a GoFundMe page, just to cover the rest of the cost. But that's what's going on, guys. It should really be out next month. People are going to be able to find it and see it.
Nice. And where can people go to check that out?
Yeah, the best thing to do right now is on Facebook. There's a group page. It's called Crown Music for the Mission. And if you can go there and check it out, it's just right now it's just a bunch of updates on the recording process and letting people know about the fundraising that we're doing. But you can go there and find out all about the album and all that's going on right now.
Nice. Well, I know for me and many others maybe who are not musically inclined personally, one of the ways that I can really connect through music is actually utilizing other people's music. And so for being willing to give your gift and give your talent to help us be able to connect with God and emote with God. And it looks like Adrian's already got his worship going on,
Oh man, he's praising.
His hands and praise and saying, "Thank you, Lord." So that's awesome, man. Marcus, thank you so much for being here with us today. Really appreciate it. Marcus Thomas, Crown Music, John Sherwood, johnsherwood.com. Peace.
All right. Thanks.